Hey guys, my name is Doug. Welcome to Third Style Garage. This is a channel about the restoration of a 66 Mustang convertible named Vin. This is episode 27. Episode 26 was about building a tip over jig. You can see it in the background. I now have access to the bottom of the car. This week, I'm gonna start working on cleaning up the bottom of the car, fixing some rust problems, some shoddy previous owner repairs. Follow me along for the journey. If you enjoy following the story of the restoration of this Mustang or learning about Mustangs or how an average Joe like yourself can do work like this, then I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe and join the channel. Thanks, have a great day. Stay tuned to see what happens. So now that I have access to the bottom of the car, I want to clean things up and fix them as much as I can. Most things are in really good shape. My impression from what I know is a bunch of work has been done on the car. Rocker panels, rockers have been replaced, torque boxes have been replaced. Sections of the rear have been replaced. I haven't spent as much time on this, but I think there's some new frame rails, chunks of frame rails, probably new quarters that are in. There's still a sticker on it. I can't quite read what that says. But there's chunks of it that are original as well. I don't know the history of the car. So, you know, I'm figuring things out as we go. And there are some things that have been repaired well and some things that have been not repaired too well. For example, bottom of the radiator frame, I think is where I would like to start. Looks like they just bent a piece of metal over, welded a patch in, didn't blend things in real well when they replaced part of the frame rail. I think the frame rail on this is new. Is it fine like that? It probably could be fine, but I'd like to see if I can do it better. I think it should look more like that, although on this side, looks like there's a rust hole possibly, needs to get fixed. So this I'd like to patch up. This I'd like to clean up, see if we can get it to look better. And then there's, I don't know if this rusted out and they just welded the bejeebers out of it, but I'd like to grind this down, patch that in, clean it up. And then over here, somebody did a pretty nice weld. So it's a hodgepodge of, I think, previous owner work, but today I'm going to get started on that and keep moving forward or rearward on the car as we go. All right, so I think this area is fixed up. Re-welded the upper joint, kind of grounded it onto a nice edge. Same thing on this side to kind of model the factory edge here. There is an overlapping joint here, which is non-factory, but it is what it is. At least it looks better. It's slightly stronger. It's as strong as stock, I believe. And, you know, it doesn't look like it was boogered up. So I'm gonna move on. I'm sorry I didn't show any of this. It wasn't particularly exciting. Ended up welding up down this seam twice, grinding it down, welding in to fill some holes. Same thing on this bottom edge. And then this gap was open. There was no weld here. I just didn't want water and moisture to get in there. So I welded that up too and then just ground it smooth. So I'm gonna move on to this next. This one's even uglier. So I'm gonna start grinding it down and cleaning it up, and I'll show you each step of the way. I can't imagine this is as strong as it should be. So when I'm done, I would love to have it look like this with just a factory edge here and some spot welds. And I would like it to be strong. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to start first by getting rid of all the stuff we don't need. Weld is cleaned up, smoothed down. There's some wrinkles in this, but that's very similar to the wrinkles that are in here as well. So I think that's normal. So basically I have a little parallelogram shaped piece that's missing out of there that I want to fabricate. Now the sheet metal that this is stamped out of, it's a little thicker than the normal sheet metal of like a fender or something. I'm looking 73 thousandths, something like that. So when I go to a piece of sheet metal that's off of a fender or something, I'm looking at 40 some thousandths, 43, 44 thousandths at that particular point. I'm not real great with my gauges yet. I'm guessing that's 18 or 20 gauge. So that is a little bit more than half of the thickness of this. So I want to get something a little thicker to weld in there. So I just went to my scrap steel bin. I've got a piece of angle iron here. When I measure that with the calipers, I'm coming out at 72 thousandths, so it's about the same. So what I would like to do is see if I can cut a little piece out of this and then use these holes in the middle. So I not only weld it around the exterior, but fill those two holes and use them like plug welds. And then hopefully be able to grind that smooth, straighten up this edge. We'll see if it works. So I'm gonna try to cut this and get it to fit. So if I hold this up in place there, need this edge to drop down right about there. I'm looking at it. Something approximately like that. So we're pretty close. I need to trim a little bit more off of this edge. Maybe a 1/16 on this end, an 1/8 inch on that end. And then feeling pretty good about the way that it fits. So I'll go grind that back a bit. All right, so I lined this edge up a little bit better. It actually kind of stuck right in there. So I think what I'll do now is I will fill this with weld all the way around the outside, fill those two plug holes, and then continue this bead on the edge, and then try to blend it in so it looks like that. We'll see how it goes. I forgot to mention this was cut out of a piece of galvanized steel. So there's a galvanization coating on the outside of it, which I've heard is not good to breathe if you weld it. So I'm gonna grind all of that off first. Here she is after getting welded. Went okay. My welds are a little tall. I don't know if you can see that or not, which, you know, they burned in well. I feel good about that. These plug welds filled in pretty well. I'll see as I grind them down if there's any pinholes. There might be a little one right there. I think I should have turned my wire feed down a little bit, and I may have had less to grind off afterwards. I also have a little spot here that I think needs to be filled in, and a couple pinholes there that need to be filled in. So I'm gonna grind this down now, see how it looks, then I'll come back and take another pass at filling things in. It's getting there. A little gap there, hole there, 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 and there. And a little one there. I could leave it the way it is, but it's not as good as I can get it. I think someday I'm going to be working on body work, and hopefully this practice will pay off and I will be better for it. Definitely getting a lot of practice grinding. Here's the finished product. It's a little shiny, which makes it hard to see in the video. It's a little easier to see in real life. But that looks remarkably close to that. Obviously sandblasted gives it a different texture, but that'll get painted. So I'll give myself 2 thumbs up for that job, and I'm gonna move on to a couple smaller tasks. I think this can get cleaned up a little bit. Looks like this was pitted and somebody welded it in. So I'll fill that and grind it down. And then I have a little gap here. I don't know if that's a crack where this metal is still strong or whether it rusted thin, in which case if I try to weld that, it could blow out. I'll probably try to get a piece of copper behind there, kind of like my finger. Maybe fill it in, something like that. We'll see, we'll figure it out. All right, it's gonna wrap it up for tonight. Made some good progress, feel good about it. Let me show you what we've got done. So we wrapped up tonight cleaning this up. This looks good, a non-stock seam there. This I feel looks, I'm really happy with the way that came out. Welded this up here. You can tell that it was welded, but at least the hole's back to normal. Cleaned up this mounting bracket here, welded that in. And then also where my shock tower brace welds burned through on the back, clean that up on each side as well. So, feeling good about the progress tonight. In case you're wondering, with my tip over jig, I did put a cable come along from the spring mount up to my garage door opener where it attaches to the ceiling. Same thing on the other side, went from the garage door track to the seatbelt track with the ratchet strap. It was pretty stable before, but that just made me feel more comfortable. If I tripped and lost my balance and fell against it or needed to push hard for bending something or grinding or whatever, you know, I don't need to worry about it anymore. It wiggles a little, but that's about it. Tomorrow night, I think I'm gonna come out and work on where the firewall attaches to the floor pan. You can see some ugliness of my work before. One weld that burned through, another ugly joint here, and then gotta figure out what to do with this gap. So that will probably be tomorrow night or the next night. Doesn't matter for you, you're watching the video. Thanks for being part of Third Stall Garage. Have a good evening, and post a comment below if you would have done this differently, if you have suggestions or share advice with others, or if this has helped you. I would love to hear that too. Have a good evening. Bye.